Now, I hope you all know what debunked means. Let me show you what debunked means. What's your name, ma'am? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. That's what debunked means. Next slide. One of the things that I saw and I talked about earlier was that there was an elite group of scientists called the Jason Group, administered by a corporation which at that time was not the MITRE Corporation, but is the MITRE Corporation now. I talked about that all over the country. People said, you're crazy. Well, I found reference to them in the Pentagon papers that were leaked by Daniel Ellsberg. And in the Pentagon papers, it said that the Jason Group had invented and come up with the electronic barrier that was placed across the DMZ of Vietnam to detect and prevent the North Vietnamese regulars from coming across the border. I was there on the DMZ. It didn't work. So they're not as smart as they think they are. But they do exist. Some people submitted Freedom of Information Act requests and actually got the truth out of the Pentagon. The first official acknowledgement that they exist. We submitted one and got it, but what I'm going to show you is not what I got, because people always doubt what I get, so I'm going to show you what somebody else got. Richard Whitmire of the Gannett News Service published this in the Olympian in Washington, and this is what he found. Next slide. He found that these guys are incredible. They have the highest security clearances in the nation. There are several Nobel Prize winners in the group. They hold the protocol rank of Rear Admiral, which is 2 stars, whenever they visit any military installation, ship, airplane, Air Force base, or government facility. They are paid $500 a day consulting fee, and they're literally some of the best brains in this country. Next slide. Next. And these are some of the lists. These are some of them. There is only one woman among them. Her name is Claire Max. Let me see if I can find her. I think she's on the next slide. There she is, Claire E. Max. Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. What do they need with a planetary physicist in a government consulting group? Next. Next. I always try to point out what's happening with women because I'm very sensitive to women's needs nowadays. I think, really, truthfully, if the world were run by women, we wouldn't be in this situation. Next. This is Bob Exler's idea of what the cover-up structure looks like. He believes wholeheartedly that to have a cover-up of this kind, involving this kind of technology, you would have to have full support from what we call corporate America. Now, this would be very easy in this country because who is corporate America? It's literally the Council on Foreign Relations. And I'm going to show you later that not only is this possible, it's probably absolutely right on. Next. Next, we've already looked at this. This is a piece of film that was sent to Leonard Stringfield, who is another researcher, who, the person who sent this film said that this was an alien extraterrestrial body recovered from a craft that had been burnt. I've looked at this at every angle that I possibly can think of, and I can't tell what in the world it is, except that you can sort of get a sense that it's probably biological something. Next. This was also sent to Leonard Stringfield, and the same thing was purported to be said. They said that this was the burned body of a crashed extraterrestrial being from a crashed spaceship. And this one is a fraud. Because right here, under the body, is a pair of Air Force flight glasses. I've seen enough of those in my life to know exactly what they are. Next. This is an official U.S. The newsreels captured it. We went down to watch Roy Rogers on Saturday morning, and they showed us this thing hopping around the flight line in front of a bunch of reporters in bleachers, and it never went anywhere. It just sort of hopped around, and the pilot had this incredible, terrified look on his face. Next slide. This is a photograph taken at a junkyard at a, I believe it was White Sands test range. Nobody knows what it is. Looks like a mad welder went wild. Next. This is a photograph. It's supposed to be able to learn how well parachutes of different designs work with this thing. Is that true? I don't know. Next. This is another one. We couldn't figure out what this is used for. We compared the shape and the size of this to the known nose cowlings of large aircraft, and we haven't been able to find anything that it fits. But there's a lot of experimental aircraft that you never get to see, so that doesn't mean anything really. Next. These are photographs of 3 UFOs, or actually 4. One's almost out of the photograph up there, over a power plant. They seem to really like power plants. They're seen a lot, especially around nuclear power plants. If my theory about the cattle mutilations is correct, that might explain it. Next slide. February 27th, 1951. Isn't Lassie beautiful? Next slide. This advertisement was in this magazine. Flying mobile camper of the future may be electric powered, plugging into any electric outlet for recharging. Now this is during the period of time when people like Herman Oberth, the world-renowned rocket scientist who was the teacher to Dr. von Braun, was saying that we couldn't take credit for all the technology that we've developed in the last decade. And when the reporter asked Dr. Oberth, what do you mean? What other nations helped us? He said, it wasn't another nation, son. It was those little guys from out there. And security people grabbed him and hustled him right out of the press conference. That was at his retirement. It was also the same period of time when William P. Lear, John Lear's father, said on a television talk show, when asked what he could see for the future, he said, you will be able to get into a phone booth in Los Angeles and step out in New York City. And he wasn't joking, and the audience laughed at this man. This was one of the bigwigs in the defense industrial complex who knew exactly what was being researched in our laboratories at that time. Next slide. And also in this magazine, this scientist, Richard Wilson, exposes flying saucers. He says what they've been saying for day one, they're weather balloons. Next slide. Albert Einstein. If, in fact, extraterrestrials were real and we had recovered that technology, I'm sure that Albert Einstein would have known about it, would have been in on it in one way or another. Next slide. And he may have known about things like this, the proceedings of the Lunar and Planetary Exploration Colloquium. May 13th, 1958. Look at that date because it's very significant when you look at what's in this book. And I'm going to show you a few pages. I've got this book at home. I guard it carefully because it's the only copy that's ever been able to be located, and I've got it. Introduction to the Initiating Group, Scientific Aspects of the Lunar Surface. How did they find that out? The physical characteristics of the lunar surface. The geological aspects of the interior of the moon. Evolution and nature of the lunar atmosphere. Didn't someone tell us that there was no lunar atmosphere? Isn't that correct? or was I